Yo, I'm David Medawar, and we're going to talk about how motivation can be a trap. And so it's a little counterintuitive because we love motivation, right? You know, it's New Year's Eve and you're like, yes, I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to lose 950,000 pounds in January. I'm going to go on this incredible fad diet and do everything right, do everything perfect. And then all of a sudden February comes around and you're like, what the hell just happened? And why am I not motivated anymore? And so I want to talk about why relying solely on your motivation can actually be a pitfall for you and can be a setback to your success. And before I get into the reasons why, if you like what you see on this channel, click on that subscribe button. And if you like this video in particular, just send me a like, I'd really appreciate it. So let's talk about why this can be a problem, right? Because when it comes to success, we have this idea in our mind, right? That success is like this line, this pleasant line where over time we have like this steady increase in progress and we get our goals. And unfortunately with life, the way it happens, right, is it's more like a squiggly where you're making progress and all of a sudden it's like, detour here, detour there, detour everywhere, scribble, 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 and then drop. And then maybe you start climbing again, right? And we have this idea of these setbacks where you start doing everything on, say, New Year's, you have a good 2-3 weeks, you're actually putting on muscle, but yet you're just looking at the scale on the measurement that it gives you, and you're like, oh, well, forget the fact that I'm actually getting in better shape, the fact that I saw my muscle grow not really matter because, I can't talk. Even though my muscle went up, my weight went up as well, so therefore I'm just gonna go ahead and give up because I'm not losing weight, when really you were actually making progress. And so the main idea here is that we want to focus on progress versus perfection and understand that there are going to be those days where we have setbacks. And so the way I look at it is that your success in life isn't so much on those days where you are really motivated and feeling your best, but what's actually more important is what you made of those days that were the hardest and the meaning you gave behind them, right? And that's really where you're going to see a difference. I'll give you an example, right? So I used to weigh a lot more than I do now, and I was in pretty shitty shape, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. And I did another video recently about how your diet can affect how you feel with anxiety, with your mood, your stress. And I actually have a link to that video that you can find below as well. And so I look at, in the case of my success so far, first of all, I'm not done. I'm trying to always get better. And I look at the last 6 years or so that I've been going consistently to the gym. And this is the first time ever in my life where I've stuck with the gym. If I just relied on the motivation of starting something new and the initial burst and excitement, I wouldn't have lost 50 pounds or whatever I've lost. It's actually those days where I got out of bed, I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I don't want to do this today. I want to just go back to bed, or I want to say have, you know, all the chips and guacamole that's my nemesis when it comes to diet, right? Like that's the one thing where if I'm at a party and there's a bowl of chips and guacamole, I'm that guy that's hovering by it because I want to make sure I get as much of it as I can. So it's those days where we struggle and we don't feel like going to the gym. We don't feel like eating right. We don't feel like working on our purpose. If we're driven by emotion and feeling, we're never going to get what we want in life, right? I want to repeat that again. If we're simply driven by our emotions and feelings, we're never going to get what we want in life. It's on those days where we need to step back and say, you know what? Today's one of those kind of days. It's okay, I accept that. And even though I feel like shit, how badass would it be to still go to the gym? How badass would it be to still work on this business proposal you might have? How badass would it be to still take your 20-minute walk? How badass would it be where with your loved one, if you don't feel like loving them that day, you still treat them kindly and say, I love you, things like that. I mean, whatever it might be, fill in the blanks, throw a comment in the chat. And these are really those important moments because what will happen is we'll go back in time and we'll say, hey, where I'm at today isn't because it was an easy road. No, it was the road less traveled, the road that's super hard, the road where I still endured, even though it was tough. And what you'll do is you'll build a muscle memory where it just becomes easier and easier. And you actually will crave that success more because we always appreciate things in life more when we had to work for them and they weren't given to us, very easily. And so that's a really important, crucial point I want to drive home is that you'll appreciate your progress more when you actually strive to persevere and just kick butt even on those days where you don't feel like it. Because again, if it's all about how you feel, if it's all about that motivation, if it were that easy, everybody wouldn't be quitting after a month on that new diet, or they made 60 pounds of progress where they lost 60 pounds and then they put it back on, they got comfortable, complacent. And that's another thing too, is that progress should be a progression throughout your life. One thing that's really important to me personally is that I look at self-development as something that's going to be continuing until I'm in the grave, right? This is not something where I look at it and I'm like, oh, I'm who I want to be now. I'm done. I really don't feel like working on my mission in life, not improving as a person, working on my mental health. It's a day in, day out thing, right? And we're not talking about perfection here. I'm still going to have those days that are lazy. I'm still going to have those days where I'd rather do something else. But we look at, again, that progress track, right? And I talk about this in my book, and if you want to check it out, it's in the description below. I actually have a progress tracking section of my book as well, right? It's kind of like the stock market, where if you are just easily deterred by every individual day of investment, where, oh, today the stock went down 5%, you quickly sell. Or today it went up 5%, that means it's going to automatically go up tomorrow and the market might have a hard day. No, you look at it as an investment, where you look at the big picture, right? Whatever it is, months, years, decades, of where I was, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, down here, and now I'm here. Because the way progress works is, no matter where you're at in your journey, you're gonna have this cycle, right? Some days will be tougher than others. Some days you might you might feel more anxious than others. Some days your mood might be off. Some days your motivation might be off. But our goal in the long haul is to continue making progress in life. And if it were easy, progress would be linear. It would be uninterrupted. You wouldn't get that news from the doctor. You wouldn't have that breakup. You wouldn't have these odd curveballs that life throws at us. But you have to adapt to it. You have to understand that that's part of the progress. Because if we make an expectation that everything is going to go smooth, that's when we set ourselves up for disappointment, right? So one thing also that's really important as well is, if you want to make progress, you want to maximize your chances of taking care of your mental health, taking care of your body. I can tell you right now, if I'm eating right, there's more of a chance I'm going to go to the gym. There's more of a chance I'm going to work my hardest on my purpose or a new business idea. Versus if I've been eating like trash and I feel like a cow, I'm just going to want to stay in bed being like, just mooing all day, right? And just not really doing anything, not feeling motivated. And so I'll also put a link below for me for the supplements I take. My last video, I talked about my diet. And again, I'll mention that I referenced that link in the description below as well. Eating well, supplementing well, taking care of your body in the gym, taking care of your mental health. All of these things are going to work in favor for getting what it is you want in your life. And so I want to thank you for being here, and talk to y'all later.